Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of PoCommunity. I'm Mike Garboyd and I'm sitting here with Meltem Algan from Welcomely. How's it going?
Hi, Mike. Thanks so much for having me today. It's going well. How are you doing over in Poco? I'm assuming you're there.
Yeah, we're at the podcast studio here in Poco. Doing good. Thank you for being on. I know we've been talking for a little bit, and you talked to Aaron too about Welcomely. But tell everybody that's watching what Welcomely is.
For sure. So, Welcomely, we're a Vancouver based startup company, really launched in the height of the pandemic, which is odd because we are an online marketplace for small, fully equipped meeting spaces. So, anytime you need a meeting space like a hotel meeting room or, say, the Fountainhead network, which is where Mike's currently at, you go to Welcomely, you can browse all the meeting spaces available, and then you can book on demand. Kind of an odd business to launch in the midst of a pandemic, but I mean, I think Mike, you're in the same boat. It is what it is.
Yep, it's 100%. It is what it is. We planned on opening the business before the pandemic. We just happened to get our keys a month before the pandemic hit here. So it can't really, it's, we're basically shit out of luck really there. I'll swear a little bit, but like it's just what we got dealt with. But I think after all this, both of us are in a really good industry, and promoting like rental space is going to be huge. People are going nuts at home. I guarantee you they're going nuts at home.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, how many times have you heard the term zoomed out? Right? I mean, it is floating around every single day because people are sick and tired. I mean, I'm very grateful to be sitting here with you over Zoom, but I would much rather be sitting in person with you, right? And that is just collectively, most of us are feeling that way. And there's something to be said about staring at a screen and actually feeling tired by the end of the day. Like I feel like I'm drained of energy, yet I'm not feeding off of your energy that I would be getting if I was physically sitting with you.
Yeah, and it does not. Working from home is really hard for the people that aren't driven, and everybody's not driven about what career and job they're doing. I think it's interesting. Obviously, a lot of companies who have people working from home right now, they're expecting numbers to be down because it's COVID. Unless you're in an industry that's flourished during these times, your company is probably suffering a little bit. But what's going to be interesting after COVID is the people that are working from home that had the COVID excuse of why their productivity wasn't that great. Once they have that choice of staying home or going back to work, when they do stay home and their numbers stay COVID same, they don't move up from where it was at COVID, then they're going to realize, like all these companies that have jumped the gun and just said, no, we're not going to lease out a building anymore. Everybody can work from home. It saves us all this money. They're going to be, unless they have a super driven, full on team, it's going to be really hard to see what the normal is from home compared to how it works from an office. What like, for us, I think, the idea of like almost like a half and half schedule, because so many people are used to the home thing, but just having that office that they can rent for a few days a week, that's perfect.
Exactly. And I think commitment free renting is what's key, right? I mean, there are a lot of, like, I think in the past, before the pandemic, at least from what I noticed, when you were renting a co working space, there was still a commitment, a monthly commitment. And now you're seeing more of flexible co-working spaces, right? Really geared towards like, what is your schedule? What are your needs? And I think that's important because yes, a monthly membership works for most people. It doesn't work for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
I need it just, like you said, X amount of days per week, not necessarily the 5. Now I can kind of tailor my package accordingly. And I think that this idea of hybrid work is so interesting because yeah, work from home is great some days. I do like being in my pajamas a little bit later than I should be, but there are some days where I'm like, I need a change of scenery and I need quiet, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're co-working spaces, like if you're like, if you know about them and the people that don't know about them, what they are, or usually there's a lot more private offices and co-working spaces where people rent offices within a big office, and that's their office. But we went with a more communal, like open area desk concept because the whole that makes the commitment lesser. You don't have to like rent a full office a month. We like all these other places do month by month, but that's a huge commitment still. That's still quite a bit of money. What we offer is like it's for every type of worker. What a lot of people are out on the job sites and then they just need somewhere to do paperwork. There's a lot of students that are like our model is very good for because you can do 3 days a week, come in here, do whatever you got to do. You have all these great just features you can use that you don't have at home, but it's not hitting your pocket huge. You don't have to if you're trying to start a side hustle business, you don't have to jump in there to get a location to work at. You're not having to spend more money than you're making from it, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. It's just now it's becoming more accessible, and I think that that's what we're trying to do at Welcomely is have this one platform where you can go where you can see what is available out there, right? Rather than having to organically search office space for rent, because now I'm either going to get some of the long-term lease options, month to month, et cetera, right? And then I need to narrow my search and I have to keep filtering this giant world of Google to try to find something that meets my needs. And with Welcomely, we want to solve that and make it just really simple. Hey, I need a podcast studio. Type in podcast studio. Hey, Fountainhead Network's available. Great, book, right? Like I can see my pricing, I can book, rather than, oh, let me Google search it, see the 15 that come up, go to each website individually, call them up, etc. Right?
Yeah.
We're just at this place where we need these things on demand. And I think that we can create a process that's way simpler than what we have currently.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's definitely convenience and just quickness of especially like those last second bookings. Like you find out you someone, so you have an important meeting that wasn't a thing until that day, and that's the only time you can have it. Being prepared and in such a quick matter. Like you could just go to the website. I'm in this city. Da, 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 this is what I want. I think it's brilliant. And just with today's times, that's how it has to be. It has to be convenient. Everybody that makes it hard, like just how businesses that haven't moved their businesses to an online like accessibility. Like if it's not online and not like basically if you can't buy their stuff online, they're not gonna do well. And it's because of easiness. Everybody has that phone in their hand. They want it right now.
Mm-hmm, exactly, and I think that another interesting shift that we're going to see. I mean, I'm super keen on seeing what companies are going to shift to full remote basis. I think Twitter was one of the first that had announced in the pandemic. I mean, you might know this. I might be completely wrong, but I recall Twitter being one of these companies that was just like, you know what, we're ditching our office, we're going remote, right? And then they had decided that, and I believe a couple of companies have decided that because it's like, oh, we have this long-term office lease that's costing us X amount. Let's get rid of that. We can now contract workers from all over. Salaries are lower. People don't need to be in the downtown hub and pay more. And so we are seeing this shift towards remote work and hybrid work. But then there's this gap of not everyone knows, where to look for a meeting space or what a good meeting space or a good seamless meeting really entails. So you can find a meeting space. For an example, say there's 5 podcast studios, right? But you might not know exactly what is going to meet your needs. It might be, I mean, I don't know if podcast studio would be a good example, but for Welcomely, for an example, we also list private dining rooms. Well, yeah, you can search on Welcomely different private dining rooms that have a presentation screen, but you don't know how many power outlets are in each private dining room, right? You might not know to think that that's an important thing if you're having a presentation and doing a corporate meeting before your lunch. So at Welcomely, we are going to offer an additional service of, hey, I actually need a professional meeting planner to help me really, really tailor this meeting, find the right venue, and execute this properly. So I think there will be this gap of not only people need meeting spaces and these versatile meeting spaces, but people are going to need to learn how to book a good meeting and how to run a good meeting, because just going remote doesn't mean that people are just going to know how to do this all of a sudden. Take away their office space, there's this kind of gap in skills. So with Welcomely, like we will provide that service as well, but on a basic level, here are all your meeting rooms. And here is what you might need based on your meeting needs, availability, capacity, price, book on demand. And then if you need a meeting planner, we got that too.
Yeah, and it's brilliant because even if a lot of people do end up staying at home for a majority of their work, if they're not wanting to do these Zoom calls, which I think there's a lot of people that are done with it, plus just extroverted salespeople and just extroverted people in general that like face-to-face contact, they can't have meetings at their home. Even if that's where their business said that they got to work, or who they work for, if they work for themselves or work from home, they can't have this big like meeting at their homes. So it's great to have that option where you're providing, and essentially we're providing too, just non-permanent community too. Like you meet people, like co-working spaces. That's I think are going to flourish after this COVID thing so much, because people just want community again and want to talk to people and be around people. And right now, I think business, like a lot of small business owners, they are all on the same page. So they're helping each other out with not needing something back. It's like, it's been like the last year and a half or whatever it's been has been amazing for seeing who's coming in here and who's helping each other out. And what essentially your app is doing is helping people make their lives easier in business, for especially after COVID, where they're in this limbo of like home to office. What the hell do I do?
Yeah, exactly. And you miss those kind of like quote unquote water cooler moments, right? When you're on Zoom, because you hop on Zoom and then your call just kind of ends because it's a little bit awkward to hang around and be like, so, you know, what else is going on? It's like, no, we've kind of covered everything on our agenda. Everyone's kind of over this online virtual thing, so we're just going to hang up. Whereas in a co-working space or in a face-to-face meeting that's booked somewhere, you have this moment to like talk about the space around you, right, is a great icebreaker. Like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, this is a cool space. Have you been here before? No, let's grab a coffee right here. Oh, they have beer on tap. Let's go do that afterwards. And then you have this organic kind of connection outside of the business goal per se. And that's why co-working spaces I think are definitely going to be blowing up, because you also have that ability to network built in, right? You have an icebreaker built in. The space is cool. Space has food and beverage. The space has whatever it is, right? And now you have something to talk about and something to do outside of just your meeting or your work.
Yeah, and different industries, it's a really great way to find out how each industry helps each other and how you can help each other in-house. Like we have an art niche, we have a media niche, and what do businesses need now more than anything is like marketing with a lot of visual graphics, visual like promotion. When you have with online, that can only go so far. I know from trying to do business with people through email or even Zoom, but you're trying to get things across and you're trying to figure stuff out together, and it just doesn't come out. There's a lot of wasted time because it's not understood between the two exactly what is wanted with the final product. When you have co-working spaces, it's like it's like when you're working on something for so long and your brain is just rattled because of it. You can't figure it out. And somebody from you've become friends with in a co-working space walks by, and to them, it's basic. And they're like, this is how you do it. And it's natural. It happens very there's a lot of that in life where some things are just basic to some people and some things are crazy hard and vice versa. And I don't think you get that, you don't build that business connection as well over online. And especially now, there's so much contracted work, like the people that are helping you are overseas and stuff, and it's not personal at all. It's not, it's hopefully we're going to be that ground where people like basically that are sick of this whole online stuff need that connection. They know where to go. I'm rambling about it, but it's because I've been talking about this stuff through COVID, like how big this is going to be, and we are seeing it. Like the numbers are still bad. We're still not anywhere near where we should be with COVID, but still our numbers of members, our numbers of people interested in what is going on, it just keeps going up. And I think as soon as the floodgates open and they say, no masks, do this, go do what you need to do, everybody's good, it's gonna be crazy.
It is. And I think people are just done now. Like, we've done this for over a year, right?
Yeah.
We are, in the beginning, do you remember when everyone was like, this might last until May? That was May of last year, when it was like, what, 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month, we were thinking was just like ludicrous. And now we're over a year into it, and it has shown the importance of connection. It has shown the importance of face-to-face. And like you said, this industry is going to blow up, right? And you're already seeing it without the COVID numbers going down to what they should be or what we're hoping they should be. We're already seeing this spike of, I just need a meeting room, I need a meeting space, I need people, right?
Yeah.
And that is, it's great because it proves that what we're all doing is the right move. Sure, it's a bit of a slow start for both of us in terms of, getting the businesses going, because it's literally forbidden for people to gather in large groups.
Yeah.
But we're on to something, and the Fountainhead network is on its way to being a great success already, even in COVID. Welcomely, hopefully, is not far after. And we just get to connect soon and safely and share and bounce our ideas and network properly in a way that's more interesting than sitting around staring at a screen.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be nice to just have those like events again that you can get together with a lot of like-minded people in business, and like we used to go to like Startup Vancouver and things like that. That just we're missing it, and we've been building this business. We've been going to a lot of different virtual online meetings, and you see how every month the numbers keep going down with the people attending these events, because it's not, especially when they're paid events too. There's a lot of paid seminars and stuff online that in reality it doesn't feel like you're getting your money's worth. It's not that live feeling, it's not that in-person feeling. So it's people are getting sick of, they're zoomed out. People are just, from what I've talked to, I've had a lot of people that when we had them walk through our space, we gave them tours in like last summer, and it was they were like, oh, we got to wait till COVID dies down. This is bad. Like, we don't want to have to move our off, like have like Bonnie Henry come on here and be like, you have to move work. Nobody can work in any office. You have to work from home. You don't want to have to like uproot your life so many times back and forth. And by the end of the year last year, a good chunk of them were coming back, and they're like, we can't wait. Like, we can't do this anymore. Like, it's just, when is this going to end? Working from home is not working for us. Some people, it's been the most amazing time of their life working from home. They'll never change that, and I will never fight them on that, because I have friends that say they work better from home now. They love it, and that's good on them. But there is so many people, especially ones with kids, that really, really need to get away. They need to make home. It's difficult to stop working when your business is at your home.
Yes, it 100% agree. It's difficult to stop working when you're working from home, and then it's difficult to also find balance because you know, and I do this. I'm so guilty of doing this. I'll be working and doing laundry at the same time because I'm like, well, I'm at home and the laundry's sitting there, so I can just do the laundry while I'm working. And it is such a it's not a productive way to go about your work or to go about your home life because now you've just mixed everything, and then by the end of the day when it's time to just wind down and relax, it's hard to relax because the home is your office. The work is kind of, you're still in bed sometimes doing work, and then you put the laptop away. And then while you're doing work, you're also prepping dinner the next day. And it's just like, oh, I don't have office hours and I'm not setting my boundaries anymore. Right. And I just think it's such an unhealthy, unproductive way to go about things. And I'm completely guilty of doing it myself. So, yes, if I had a temporary office space that I could safely go to right now, I would be doing that 2, 3 days a week.
Yeah.
I don't want to give up the home work life, fully, but I need a balance, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's yeah, the working from home thing I think is it's very nice. I we did it for about a month, me and Aaron, when we were building this business because we had to. My parents had compromises, so when COVID hit hard, they were watching our kid full time. And then we were like, okay, well, who's going to watch our kid full time? Well, I guess we have to. And we worked from home for a month, and we couldn't get anything done. And like you said, you're doing these like basically these tasks that are home while you're doing your tasks for work. That's one thing when you are your own business. You're an entrepreneur and you're your own business. That it's more accepted that way. Where I think it's going to be really, really like I think of business owners that have huge staff like on their payroll that are doing laundry while they're supposed to be working and doing all this. Like, how do those people feel? And nobody ever thinks about business owners in that way because they're either looked at, if they bring that up, they look greedy. And that's not the truth. It's just you need productivity. If you have your staff doing laundry and doing cooking their lunch and eating, like taking long breaks, going and watch TV when they want, having like a sports game on in the background or something, like it's just, how does the boss feel? And like, unless that boss goes and puts some tracker on, they have to log in how their time in a day, which that looks like, again, like a micromanaging boss. Where is this going to go? Why would bosses and CEOs and stuff want the at home thing? They're going to see why they paid all this money for offices and space, because you want to be able, if you're a business owner, you want to be able to at least manage a little bit of what's going on in front of you. You can have all the trust in the world, like you know, all the trust in the world, but you never know what these people are doing from home. Um, like I said, it depends on the person and how they're driven. Some people would flourish, absolutely flourish from home. But I have a good chunk of friends. I have myself. If I was on somebody else's payroll and it wasn't something that I like physically was loving doing, like think about like sales teams that are selling stuff they don't believe in, that because they just need to pay bills. Why, why would they give as much when they're not being watched?
That's such a good point. Yeah, exactly. And there is really no way to monitor it because I mean there's a privacy concern with setting up a camera.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
let me make sure that you are working around the clock and taking breaks as you say you are. But yeah, if you are not fully engaged with the work that you're doing, then you will. I mean, I think it's quite natural to do the bare minimum, right? When no one's watching.
Yeah. Especially if you're not passionate about it. Like if you have your own business, you have a passion. If you're taking the time, you have the passion to put that energy towards what you want to accomplish. There are so many people out there that that's not the case. It's not, and that's like the whole typical everybody hates their job attitude. Like it's there's a lot more people than that, like don't, but are part of that just work to pay the bills, and they just won't won't work hard. And it's that COVID excuse. Like I said, it's the COVID excuse that it's getting people like basically forgiveness for not doing as well as they could be. That's where this whole thing's going to get to, where once it's normal again, why are their numbers the same? And it's literally because some people need to be managed, and that's not a bad thing. That's really not a bad thing. Some people, once they're given a little bit of guidance, they're absolutely amazing. But Zoom guidance isn't guidance. It's not. It really isn't. There's a lot of people that this is like school, and the school systems have failed a lot of kids because they don't learn a certain way. Like you don't sitting there and listening to a teacher just monotonely telling you all this information. It goes over a lot of kids' heads, probably like half of them, because they're practical learners and they need to like be guided. And once they do it once, they're golden, but they just zone out. And I think that's what people are going to these. It's like when here's an example is like when you're a teenager and you get a job at like a grocery store and they give you like this orientation video you got to watch. Like how many people are like, well, they're get put in a dark room by themselves and have to watch it for an hour. Like how many of them are intently watching it?
Yeah. Or retaining anything, right? You need to actually go up and do it.
Yeah, no, that's what it's like. They're going to the Zoom call because they've been told they have to by their boss. And they're sitting there in pajamas, zoning out, turning their camera off because they can. It's yeah, it's going to be interesting. I have had these conversations with many friends. Some work from home, some work from like offices, or if they're like working different sites. And a lot of them, like, let me just say, none of the people that are not working at home are envious of the people working from home right now, because you already know once you leave work and you come home, it's not like we have a lot of freedom right now when it comes to where you can go and what you can do. So if you had to do that all day, every day, stay home, do this, just stay home at night, stay home for work, stay home at night, stay home, like brutal, absolutely brutal.
It is. But I mean, I think the difference is like in pre-pandemic, work from home meant that you had flexibility to have your own temporary office spaces as you please, be it a coffee shop, right? It was, you had the flexibility to use the city as almost your office if you work from home. With the pandemic, you're that freedom and that luxury of work from home, which is not so much work from home, it's work from anywhere, I would say, which is a huge luxury and privilege, right? Because you can go to, the Fountainhead network, right? You can go to wherever else the next day. You can be in a different city. You can do all these things. But work from home in a global pandemic is really work from home. And the challenges like are just endless. And like the advantages are like, oh, I can actually wake up at any time I want technically, and no one would know.
Yeah.
But then the disadvantages just far outweigh the advantages at this point. And then I think a lot of like what you were saying, when the world kind of opens up, and for employers that are kind of debating whether they should be remote, hybrid, or in office, moving forward, I think that there's going to be this huge issue around just technology and say Wi-Fi, right? Not everyone's home Wi-Fi or home tech is great, right? So how many times are you going to be able to get away with, oh, I couldn't make the Zoom meeting because my Wi-Fi died? Or, what was the issue that happened in BC recently that actually impacted my home Wi-Fi? I think it was like a beaver chewed through the fiber wire or something ridiculous. That sounds like my dog ate my homework, but it's a legitimate thing that could happen to, say, these guys, this area's Wi-Fi, but not these ones. But, the important client meeting is with people who have Wi-Fi, and our team has no Wi-Fi. And, so it's like you want to have stable tech. You want to have, some sense of management and overseeing what's happening, some sense of accountability as well, which you get in in-person meetings and work environments, is that people are able to hold themselves a bit more accountable. Whereas when you're at home, you blame everything on this plethora of issues that could happen with your home office.
Well, yeah. I mean, I live in Maple Ridge, and when we've moved out there, it's been 6 years now. When we moved out there was nothing out where we bought. And now it's grown so much, but the internet connection sucked. It absolutely sucked. And now what we're seeing a lot of is people are selling their condos and stuff in Vancouver because they don't have to work in Vancouver right now. They're selling downtown, they're selling East Van, they're selling whatever part of that, and coming out this like into the Tri-Cities or further out into the valley because they are working from home. But they don't realize is downtown core has the greatest Wi-Fi you'll ever have. They'll also have all this. They'll have like everything is there. Further you go out, that's not the case. That's where I think it's going to be interesting. Like real estate skyrocketing in the suburbs right now because of that. People like can sell an apartment and buy a townhouse to a single family home out here right now. But this is the like with how the pandemic is working, like they don't have to go to their offices. What happens when these people that worked in Vancouver and their bosses say we're opening up an office again, and now they live in Maple Ridge? That is not a fun commute. It's a terrible commute.
Is horrible. Your gas, like you now start paying for gas, or if you're commuting with transit, you're losing so much time in that commute. Right? Unproductive time. I mean, I know some people write emails on the commute, but power to you. I mean, that sounds horrible to me.
No, it's not fun. I worked in different places where I've had to drive an hour to work, and it's not fun. That's where co-working spaces in different cities are going to flourish. Like we're in PoCo. It's like, okay, now Tri-Cities, people that live in the Tri-Cities, if you used to work downtown, your CEO doesn't want you to work from home anymore. They want you to be in the office. They don't say you need to go downtown anymore, but just find something local. That's where I think if people are going to be, oh yeah, I can drive to work in 5 minutes. That's beautiful. I can go home for lunch if I want. That sounds like it's going to flourish. I think it's going to flourish. When did you think, like, how did Welcomely come into your mind?
So I'm an event planner, and which is basically the worst profession to have when a pandemic's about to hit. But right before the pandemic, in January of 2020, I hosted my largest event conference yet. It pulled in around 6,000 attendees. It was massive. I'd never worked on a project at that scope. But what was really interesting about that project was with a size of, 6,000 or 1,000 plus, the places that you can actually host those events or meetings significantly drops down. For this size in Vancouver, there was one space to host it. It was the big Vancouver Convention Center. So that was simple. Finding my venue was awesome, easy. But the issue was I had all these small meetings in between that I had to plan over 2 days, right? Like these micro meetings, like VIP dinners for our guest speakers or, our keynote speakers, boardrooms that I had to book, and all these different, I think, say 10 meetings that were involved over this 2-day massive conference. And finding the venues for these spaces, like to host these meetings, was a nightmare because I could host them anywhere. I can fit 10 people for dinner in any restaurant almost. They all have private dining rooms. They all have a presentation screen. I needed a presentation screen for a corporate video, nice location downtown for a dinner, great. The list was just endless, and I had to keep calling these places and trying to organize it on top of this conference I was putting on. And it was just tedious and it was awful. And so when the pandemic hit and I naturally lost my job, I kind of had time to reflect on that. And I was like, you know what? It would have been great if I had just one central platform that I could have gone to, because I didn't have time to manage and organize these micro meetings. But they were also almost as important as the conference, because the micro meetings are for like the creme de la creme guests and speakers and clients at that conference. So they need to go really well, but so does my conference. And I basically wanted to clone myself in 10 people. And so Welcomely was me trying to clone myself for the next time I would have to do this. It was me saying, okay, great. I could have a platform. I could find the private dining rooms and the hotel meeting rooms I needed in just minutes. and I can have it organized either by a meeting planner directly from the Welcomely platform, or I could just at least really quickly find the right people from the venue to organize it for me. So it was just that was the thought process that was going through my head. Was I have this downtime, I've had this issue in the past and most recently in January, why not do something about this? So that Welcomely was born through that.
Wanting the convenience for yourself as well as others that would be doing the same as you, because it would have really helped you. So that's great. Yeah, events is one thing to be in right now. That is brutal. We're the same boat. Literally, that's how we wanted to build our business, was a majority events. We have a huge allowance event space that we wanted to be available to members to rent for personal like events. Wanted it to be used for non-members, rent it for pretty much whatever they want. And that was the way to get people in the door to see what we offer. That year one, literally, that was like number one thing we wanted to dedicate to, was just have different, because especially our art media niche, it's like bring in musicians, bring in artists, bring in graphic designers, bring in all these like creative people, videographers, whatever, to these events. And it's a lot harder during a pandemic where it's like book tour with one person at a time, instead of saying hundreds of people. We have 7,000 square feet. We could have hundreds of people in here at a time if it was a regular time. Now it's like, okay, no, you can only have 10 or 8 and we have had some COVID safe events. We have, but it's not the same. It really is not. It's not, when you can only have 8 people and you have to restrict it and people kind of have that face-to-face conversation. It's not the same. So yeah, I feel for you. I really feel for you. Nobody picked their careers to be COVID safe. That's not what we used to live for, right?
That's true. But you know what's kind of, there is a silver lining here. And I think the silver lining is for anyone that's in the industry that we're in, right? Which is centered around face-to-face meetings and connecting people. I think being an event planner or being in this space where you really, your business relies on face-to-face, there's always been this fear that technology is going to take over that, right? That this convenience of digital online virtual meetings is going to somehow push out events, push out face-to-face. And the pandemic kind of proved that theory wrong, right? That no matter what, yes, we can turn to technology, but people are not going to choose that long term, right? We've seen it. We've watched it play out, and we've experienced it ourselves, right? Yes, a couple people, like the introverts of the world, which I'm also quite an introvert. I can stay home in my room for 3 days and be fine. I need to see people. I need to see people now, right? So I think we're in the right business. We know that it is pandemic proof to some extent, because people are not going to opt for technology over face-to-face.
No.
And people are still going to want to meet, even though the computer is more convenient.
Yeah. And in a way, it's a blessing, because it's going to give us like that. Once it's, like I said, floodgates open, it gives you that like huge push instantly of this, like, what everybody is craving right now. We're there. Like it's we're already offering it. It's gonna be there for people to use instantly. And I'm hoping, and I've hoped for a long damn time now, is when is that going to actually happen? It's how do these businesses, like you can only go so far and stretch so thin when you're not making what you are supposed to be making as a business. And the government help isn't help when you got to pay it back, when you're trying to basically rebuild your business after a pandemic. So it's like, okay, here's all these loans, here's all these things you got to pay back. It's like, no, in reality, it's not easy. It's not really help when you have extra expenses when you're trying to rebuild. But as long as this happens soon, we see it in the States. It is, a lot of things are opening, making it more normal. Certain states faster than others, but Canada's been kind of slow. And so that's where it gets kind of scary. Canada's been super slow on how we're doing things and how fast these vaccines are rolling out, and just restrictions are pretty high again still. But we're still kind of in a weird loophole where we're allowed to be like we're an office space. People are allowed to work and they're allowed to go to work right now. And we do have a good community that has decided we safely work at Fountainhead right now. And we're kind of lucky that way. It's just weird to me. It's great for my business, but it's weird to me that it's okay for us to have people coming here, but those people can't go and see their friends and family unless they're come here. So, like that's a whole nother story right now. That's just like, I think that's where people are just fed up with these kind of shoddy rules that don't add up to one another. If like you can't see your friends, stay inside your bubble. If they're like secondary friends, you can't see them. But we can't help if you run into each other at the Walmart and talk to each other. And I think a lot more people are just questioning just how logic some of the rules are, and how it seems like depending on who you are too, you can break them, and how much money you have. And I keep getting into it, but I think it's people are fed up with how we have to live life right now. So I really think both of our businesses after this, everybody's going to crave what they haven't had for over a year. And you don't realize how I'm an introvert as well. I'm a harsh introvert. Unless I know you, I turn extremely extroverted if I know the person and I've been around. Like if I turn into a different person, but if I don't know somebody, I tend to be quite introverted. But I still see how much, even as an introvert, I needed human connection with people, whether it be new people, which is having this business has made me more comfortable meeting new people, but how much I need the people I actually have built relationships with, how much I need it in person, and how little we talk virtually. Like I'm not reaching out to those friends on Facebook or whatever and messaging them just to talk. But if we saw each other face to face, we wouldn't stop. So I think we're learning what's really important to us right now. And if you're not processing what was really important to us now, if you're someone that hasn't, you will see what you really wanted once you're open to do things again, and you get those invites to go out again. Because everybody knows, like everybody tries to get out of plans. Everybody is, I think, guilty of it, where it's just like, oh, the day of, they're like, man, I really hope they cancel, or like, blah, blah, blah. And I think there's going to be less of that after this. I think more people are going to be like, oh my God, I can make plans with my friend. Like they're counting down the days till like Friday night when they got to go see their like aunt or something. Like it's going to be interesting.
I know. I'm actually interested to see, like, I feel like no one's going to want to invite their friends over to their house because everyone's so sick of their home. So it's just going to be this game of like, no, let's go to your house, right? Let's just get a change of scenery. And they're like, I don't want to be here either.
Yeah. Well, restaurants. That's what I think. Restaurants right now are suffering hard, but it's kind of like all the industries that are hit hard right now are going to probably flourish once this is all over, because everybody's going to crave what they want to do. Like everybody for the past, 10, 15 years complained how much movies like cost if you wanted to go to see the movies. And now you think about it, how much people are going to want to go to see a movie and don't give a crap about how much it costs them, because it's just something that was taken away from them. It's not normal, or if they do go out, it's just not the same. It can keep going on and on and on about how this isn't the same. It's not, but it's these businesses that never either couldn't stay open or could stay open in a half-ass sort of way, pretty much, will just boom again. And if I was had money and wanted to invest, is like hold on to that money and then open up a restaurant as soon as the stuff is done, because you're going to be packed almost every night just because people want to talk to each other across the table.
Exactly. And I think that what it's doing is, like you mentioned, the movie theater. Yeah, a movie ticket used to seem really expensive to us, right? But mind you, when I rent movies on my TV from like Amazon or wherever we rent from, I don't know what service it is. Some of them are like $20, right?
Yeah.
Just rent at home. I know that that's probably a pandemic shift, but at the same time, you realize that what you're paying, like these quote unquote elevated costs that you're paying at a restaurant or at a movie theater or at a co-working space or at whatever, like this cost that you're thinking, should I pay that because I could do that at home? No, you're really paying for an experience. You're paying for an experience that you can't mimic at home, right?
Yeah.
We've seen that now. So yeah, maybe I'll pay an extra X amount to actually have something that's interesting going on, that's going to foster some creativity or give me some sort of joy or whatever it is. Because just because I can do it at home or just because I can order that food here, no, I'd like to actually tip my waitress and pay a little bit of extra at the restaurant to have that diner experience or have that movie experience, because it's not the same.
But
Not the
it's
same.
gonna it's gonna give us the best of both worlds, is what it's
Mhm.
gonna do. Is the businesses are gonna be able to adapt, like the movie industry is gonna be able to adapt. They're gonna still offer those like digital downloads or rentals of brand new in theater movies that they're charging 20 to $30 to watch from home, or you can go watch it at the theater for the same price, pretty much, essentially, except if you want to buy popcorn and all that stuff, it's going to cost you more. But it's that's the price of the actual theater. The actual movie itself, what you're actually getting told is this is the value of the movie, no matter where you watch it.
Mhm.
So in that's the one blessing that COVID's going to give, is the businesses that had to like kind of swing into a virtual online mode, but because they couldn't do the in-person stuff, now they're gonna have to blend both worlds and do both. And now that just means more for the people. Now if you want to go on a date night to go to a movie, you can. But if you want to stay home and stay comfortable and watch that same movie that you've been dying to watch because it's like your favorite, like let's say like what if like a new Harry Potter came out or something, right? And like people like don't want to go wait in line, they can go sit and watch it at home. It's their choice. So it's going
Mhm.
to just, I think that finally we're using our technology for not like, it's like just giving people more options and not just like almost like monetizing in one way. And like that industry is the only way it's going to succeed right now because they have like a monopoly over it. No, they've had to adapt to and make it more open and easy to access for people.
Exactly. And you know what? Online booking systems have gotten so much better over this pandemic. I went to ICBC. I didn't wait. I had everything organized. There were arrows telling me where to go and a notification of like when I should go. And the waiting time was like 2 minutes because my
Yeah.
app told me what I needed to do. Right.
It
It's just,
also it taught older generations how to do things like with
yeah.
technology. Like grandparents that are learning Zoom because they had to if they wanted to see their grandkids, or
Mhm.
all these things, these forms that you have to fill out online now. Or if you have to do any health stuff, like if you're not going to the doctors right now, there's a lot of online health checks or just Zoom calls with your doctor, and it's kind of taken the older generation, brought them back, like brought them to this world that they were kind of stubborn to learn. And that's where I think like the businesses that have really failed during COVID, that's
Mhm.
been the issue. Is it's like those mom and pop businesses that have flourished for years in with what they do because they've built up a rep of people and customer base that love them.
Yeah.
But as soon as this happens, they don't have an online presence and they don't know how to, they just crumble. They crumble. So unless they have a kid or young people on staff that know how to move it for them and know how to do it, but the older generation that was willing to learn are probably doing fine. And so that's huge, I think. So this blend of everything, like there's old school ways of life that technically we could get away from, but
Mhm.
I don't think we want to. There's like this certain connection that like just humans have with certain ways we do things. That's like, yeah, we could totally go virtual with everything, but and we could all just stay at our homes. And but no, people need that face. It's totally different. Face to face contact is a completely different story, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, we've been talking for close to an hour. I enjoy talking to you. I like that we both started basically our businesses during the craziest time I know in my life. I don't know if it's the same as for you, but it's definitely the craziest time to. I never even thought when I was in my 20s that I would be starting a business. And then I'm in my 30s, I start a business, and I never thought I'd be doing it during the pandemic. But I wouldn't change it because it's definitely taught me a lot, and it's given me a little bit more gray hairs than I thought a redhead should ever get. But it's I mean it's going to be stories in a few years. That's what I hope. It's going to be something that you look back on. If you can flourish right now, imagine what we'll be doing 2 years from now. What our businesses will be at once we get through this.
Oh, I know. It's just going to be a whole different area of the industry, right? The tech is going to blow up and evolve so much, and I think, yeah, this is the beginning of just seeing a massive shift in how we work and how we go about life. And we are just in this really interesting kind of journey together at a very strange time in a global pandemic, in a very strange industry for a global pandemic. But I totally see awesome ththings happening. I've loved chatting with you today, and I'm so excited to actually come by and physically see the space and meet Aaron as well. And yeah, I see big things happening. We just have to kind of get through this little hurdle of, getting everyone vaccinated and being able to meet without being like, ooh, I don't know if I should be near you.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. It's going to be interesting if the elbow bumps are still a thing and all that. Like if handshakes are going to be allowed, and yeah, it'll be interesting. Where can we find out about Welcomely? Like, where could some people look for Welcomely online?
So we are on www.welcomely.app. So it's welcome, the word ly at the end, .app. I don't know if you can write text over this.
This is gonna be post edited. Probably gonna put it out in a few days here. But I'll do a graphic with all your contacts, social media accounts, whatever you want. And yeah, just so people can find out about Welcomely and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you can find us on the website, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can always shout out to me via email. The more people I connect with, the happier I am. And I think that, yeah, we have great things in store, and I will meet you soon.
Yeah, that sounds great, Meltem. I enjoyed talking to you today, and I hope we see you soon. Hopefully, we get these vaccinations rolling through and people can see each other again. And you can come. I mean, you're not technically locked down by area right now. I know there's locking certain areas down. They allow Vancouver.
Oh, right. Forgot about that.
They opened it up, but yeah, no, it's cool. I enjoyed talking to you today, and I look forward to talking to you more in the future. So
yeah,
thank you.
Thanks so much, Mike. And yeah, have a great Friday and weekend.
You too.
All right. Bye.